Hello everyone! Today, I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide to making the perfect resume. When searching for resume guides myself, I found that a majority of them were aimed towards college graduates or adults with extensive experience. That is exactly why I created this video for high school graduates. However, the advice I'll share is valuable for people of all ages and experience levels, whether you're a recent grad or an experienced professional. Before we begin, let's go over the basic functions of a resume. A resume is a concise document that summarizes an individual's education, work experience, skills, and accomplishments. It is typically used to apply for opportunities like jobs or scholarships where a brief summary of qualifications is needed. The goal of a resume is to show recruiters that you are a good fit for the position or opportunity. You might wonder how recruiters decide who their next employee or scholarship recipient is simply from a bland piece of paper filled with nothing but information about your past. But the best measurement of the future is to show what you have accomplished already. If your resume is for a scholarship, you want the scholarship committee to believe you are a worthy recipient by proving you have dedication. Scholarships are basically investments in a student's future. They don't want to waste their money on a student who isn't promising. That is why you showcase your potential through how well you performed in past experiences. It's the same for a job. The employer can gain an idea of how well you'll work based on how well you've already worked in the past. Therefore, your resume should highlight your accomplishments that fit their description. Now that we understand what a resume is, let's talk about what a resume isn't. A resume is not an opportunity to showcase your personality, design, artistic, or writing abilities. Resumes are meant to be simple. Don't add a lot of color, pictures, weird fonts, or unnecessary icons like these. Instead, choose a clean, professional font and format. This is to avoid bias. A resume is not a long, multiple-page list of every single thing you have ever done in your life. Therefore, it should not be 7 pages long. 1 page is highly preferred, 2 for special circumstances. The purpose is to convey a lot of relevant information in a very short amount of time. The average recruiter will spend only a couple seconds skimming, so make it count. A resume is also not a cover letter. Resumes provide an overview of your qualifications, while a cover letter is a personalized document that explains your interest in the position and how your background makes you a good fit. They have different purposes. Lastly, a resume is not a one-size-fits-all document. There is no standard way to create a resume. Resumes for a job or internship are going to look different than resumes for a scholarship. Also, not only does everyone's resume look different, but your resume should look different for every single thing you apply to. It should be tailored to each specific job, scholarship, or opportunity you apply for, emphasizing the most relevant experiences and skills for that particular application. Now that definitions are out of the way, let's move into actually preparing your resume. Step 1. Create a brainstorming doc. You can use Word, Google Docs, a real notebook, or whatever you prefer. I'm just going to open a Google Doc so I can open and edit it anywhere, anytime. The purpose of this document is to brainstorm and list out everything you've ever accomplished without worrying about making it look pretty or professionally formatted. Here are some brainstorming questions to help get you started. This document is basically a big storage container for all of your past and future accomplishments, which means you should update it from now going forward. That way, when you need to update your resume again, you can just copy and paste all the new information easily. While you're brainstorming, keep in mind that a resume requires these 4 sections: contact info, education, work/related experience, and skills. I'm going to create these sections in my brainstorming doc and fill them out. Although those are the expected sections in your resume, there are additional sections you can add as well. They include extracurricular activities, languages, volunteer experience, references, honors and awards, hobbies, a resume objective, a professional summary, and more. In fact, research shows that including a professional summary at the top of your resume is extremely effective. Start filling out your sections, and avoid using first-person pronouns, like I or me. Although I am not writing down dates here in this example, remember to date everything. If you are still currently in high school or college, put the date you started and the intended graduation date. Based on my research, GPA is typically advised to only be included if it's above a 3.4. But please note that this isn't the case for every opportunity you apply for. For example, a need-based scholarship might not be as critical about GPA as some others. Also, if you are a high school student taking dual enrollment classes, this would be a great place to list them. In work experience or whatever you decide to title it, write down every job you've ever had. You might decide to leave out some of these in your real resume, but for now list them out and date them. Remember to add a job title and company name as well. After you're done, go back and add 4 to 7 points under each job with a description of your daily tasks, accomplishments, responsibilities, and more. Use numbers and action verbs to explain. Here are 2 helpful lists. Side note for recent graduates with no work experience. Name this section past experience and fill it with any internships, important school projects, extracurriculars, volunteer work, independent projects, or unofficial work like lawn mowing or babysitting. Next is skills. I like to separate mine into 2 categories, hard and soft skills. Hard skills are technical skills, things you are taught how to do. If you know more than one language, definitely include that here unless you're making languages its own section. Soft skills are personal qualities and traits that impact how you work, like leadership. Here is another list. Again, you might leave some of these out of your actual resume, but you should definitely include them in this document for future use. Now we're moving on into the optional sections. This section is one that is really beneficial to some and not so beneficial to others, and that is extracurricular activities. This section is great for high school graduates with no real work experience. Being involved in sports, clubs, or other organizations teach very valuable skills and develop well-rounded students, and recruiters know this. But, if you are applying to a more professional job and have more experience, do not put your high school sports or accomplishments in your resume. A general rule of thumb is to only go back 4 years. For example, if you are a sophomore in college, you should only include the last 2 years of high school and first 2 of college. Continue adding any other sections you would like and remember to add dates when necessary. Step 2. Choose a template. The hard part is done. We have the bulk of the information completed, now we just have to make it pretty. Earlier I said you want to avoid bright colors and excessive formatting, but you also want to avoid blandly listing each section with no formatting at all as well. The perfect resume is somewhere in the middle. There are many places you can get resume templates. Google Docs has a few simple templates you can use. Canva is another great option. They have a lot of resume templates, but some of them can get a little excessive. I'm going to use this one from Canva for my example. Once you've chosen your template, we can move on to step 3, sections. Before we start filling out our resume, let's talk about the order of sections because it will be different for everyone. The conventional formatting for a resume is name and contact info, relevant past experience, education, and skills. But generally, you want to list each section from most important to least important. So if you are a high school graduate or you don't have much work experience, you might want to put more emphasis on your education and skills than work experience, therefore those sections should be listed first. This is the format I will be using for my example. I mentioned earlier that you can add additional sections along with the required sections. The required sections are typically listed before the additional, but there are 2 exceptions. A professional summary or resume objective should be listed immediately after contact info. Again, there truly is no guideline for this, just do whatever best fits you and your application's requirements. Step 4. Fill out resume. Now that our sections are organized, let's start filling them out with the information from our brainstorming doc. I will ramble off a couple helpful tips as I fill out my example. Starting with formatting. You'll find it a lot easier to worry about this part at the very end rather than the beginning. You're probably going to be moving and changing things a lot, so right now just fill in your information and then we'll fix the formatting issues later. List each point in reverse chronological order, with your most recent accomplishments before older ones. Also, in my opinion, putting dates to the right of your titles saves a lot of room and looks clean. Make sure you are putting both the start and end date by each title. If you are still currently involved in an organization or job, put the start date through present. If you are still in high school or college, put your expected graduation date. As you are filling out both the skill and past experience section, make sure to insert as many keywords from their description as possible. Give them what they are looking for, especially for a job application. Remember to avoid weird fonts for 2 reasons: to maintain legibility and ensure your resume is ATS friendly. ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System, which is a name for the software a lot of companies use to organize job applications. ATS is known to not work well with weird fonts, therefore it is smart to play it safe with regular fonts like Arial, Calibri, Times New Roman, or California. Lastly, remember to avoid things that are not relevant to whatever you are applying for. For example, when you're creating your skills section, keep in mind that scholarship committees might not care as much about your Microsoft Excel skills as much as a job would. Same for job seekers. An employer probably does not find much merit in your high school football career. Once you have filled in everything, we can move on into step 5. Check grammar. This is so important. For highly competitive opportunities, one small grammar mistake can get your application discarded. If you can't pay attention to detail in your resume, how can they expect you to pay attention to detail on the job? Definitely run your resume through Grammarly or some other spell checker to make sure everything looks good. Check that all verbs are in the same tense, there are no first-person pronouns, everything is spelled correctly, and punctuation is where it needs to be. Once you have ensured there are no typos, you can move on to the final step. Step 6. Check consistency. Now it's time to fix the formatting and make everything look pretty and clean. Make sure everything is aligned, spaced evenly, and consistent. Make sure all the fonts, lines, and sizes are the same. Read over everything, and once you are completely sure everything is visually appealing and error-free, you are officially done with your resume. You can now download your file and print or electronically send it in, whichever your application prefers. If you have access to resume paper, use it to print your resume just to add an extra level of professionality, but this step is definitely not mandatory. Now that you have officially completed your resume, keep in mind that this is just the starting point. Although you don't have to completely start from scratch again, you should always tailor your resume to fit each specific opportunity you apply for. And don't forget about your brainstorming doc. Continue to use and update it throughout your life because it will definitely save you a lot of time in the long run. Good luck with your applications, I really hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.